This is Barry Phillips welcoming you to Reconnect, a call to those who were cut off and abandoned, who were disconnected from whatever religious or spiritual system you may have been a part of in the past, and you're now out there by yourself looking for a place to grab onto and a place to build a foundation. Well, come with me. Let's build one together. Let's grow together. I appreciate you tuning in, and I also appreciate those that have been visiting my website, which is remnantofisrael.com. Many have also gone to my blog and been reading thereturning.net. And also I have several new friends that have been joining us on a group page on Facebook. If you're still on Facebook and would like to join, go to the search line there and enter in Remnant Reconnect. Send me a friend request. I'll be glad to add you on and love to meet you. So appreciate all of the family building, community building that we're doing, and just lets me know we're getting somewhere, and I'm very happy about that. Also, I'm looking very much forward to at the time of this broadcast, being in Tampa, Florida at the Bney Yosef North America Conference. And this is an attempt to build again, to restore, rebuild the fortunes of the house of Israel, those tribes that have been lost. And not seeking to replace anybody, not seeking to outdo anyone, just trying to provide a means for the valley of dry bones, those dry bones to have a place to go and get connected and to be a part of a single body again. So as you're hearing this, please ask the Father to guide us and direct us and give us his heart. And I appreciate that. Let's get to our word today. Over the last several weeks, we have been discussing various aspects about the kingdom of heaven, about Yah's rule and reign fully being established on the earth, and his setting Yeshua, our Messiah, on the throne of David in Jerusalem. Knowing that this kingdom is an absolute reality, not a fairy tale, not a wish that something like this could happen, but this is a great event right on the horizon, ready for us to embrace. And knowing that this is a reality for us, we've also been describing how you and I need to prepare ourselves before this kingdom arrives. We've talked about prayer and humility and obedience, about determining who Yeshua really is to us. And now I'd like to add one more thing. Not long after I started studying Scripture from a Hebraic viewpoint, someone showed me Deuteronomy 6:4. And that line says, "Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one." Now, I had read that, I'm sure, many times, but when I read it this time, as they were pointing it out to me, I had that unmistakable something taking place on the inside of me. It was affecting me like I had never seen that verse before at all. It was like I had read it for the first time. It had the same impact on me as it did when I heard a shofar being blown for the first time, or when I had stepped out on the land of Israel for the first time, and like when I had seen Jerusalem for the first time. All of those events affected me. They did something to me. They awakened something that had been asleep in me, maybe even down into my DNA. I don't know. It got down to the depths of my being, and it stirred and provoked me. And so when I read these words, it was like those same powerful impacts taking place all over again. Now, this one verse comprises the oldest daily prayer in Judaism. It's prayed every evening, it's prayed every morning, and then they add a second stanza to this line of verse, Baruch Shem Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed, which is interpreted basically to mean, blessed be the name of his glorious kingdom forever and ever. So let's ask a reasonable question here. What does this verse mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's break it down word by word and take a look at this ancient prayer and see what we're actually praying when we recite this. So the first word we read in English is hear. It's much more descriptive in the Hebrew. It is the word Shema. It means to hear, yes, but more than that, it means to heed, to pay attention, and then once you have heard, it implies the understanding that you're going to do what you've heard to do. It's not like it was when I was a teenager and my mom said, get up and take out the trash, and I said, I will in a minute. Well, after several minutes had gone by, maybe an hour or two, Mom had to start talking to me about taking the trash out again. I evidently, even though I physically heard her, emotionally, relationally, I did not hear her because I didn't act. Well, to Shema means that you and I hear the word of Yahweh and then we act it out doing what He has required of us. So it is to hear with corresponding action. What we hear provokes us to respond, and some means of obedience. Again, children, they don't hear if they don't obey. Shema is in the singular here in its usage, and that can go maybe one of two different ways. Possibly it could be implying that we need to obey as one, that is you, the individual. So this may be an individual command to you yourself, but also possibly it could be you, the community of Israel, should obey. So maybe we could take this in two levels. If we hear as an individual, we are obligated to obey what it is that we've heard. If we hear as a community, then as a community we need to function as one so that we may be able to obey and obey together. Now, the next word is Israel. Well, we all know what Israel is, that geographical area over in the Middle East, right? Well, not necessarily. So we add to the word Shema the word Israel. This references a very specific group of individuals. At its root, we're talking about Yaakov, or Jacob, and his covenant family of descendants. Notice that I didn't say his bloodline. This is his covenant family of descendants. Let's talk about that more. This, again, it's not a geographical location so much as a mystical, spiritual body of people who are aligned and associated by covenant. A covenant is not a contract. A contract is something you can sign and read the details and agree to, and then at some point later on you can renegotiate the contract. A covenant is a lifelong binding and bonding of an individual with another individual or a group. So this is the covenant that the Father, the Creator, has given to Abraham, to Yitzhak, to Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to their family of descendants that would align themselves and agree to the terms of the covenant. So just as the scriptures point out, it's not enough to claim that you have a bloodline. You also need to be willing to give yourself to the tenets of the covenant. So Israel then references this particular body. Our being born again does not mean that we replace anyone else. There is a hideous doctrine or system of doctrines, replacement theology, that basically is trying to teach that the church system has somehow replaced Israel, the people, and those of the covenant. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's absolutely no truth in that whatsoever. Those covenants were given without repentance by our Creator, by Yahweh Himself, and He's not reneging on those. So we haven't replaced anyone, but we are adopted into this covenant people. This is what is being talked about in Romans chapter number 11 when Rav Shaul, the Apostle Paul, is talking about being grafted into the olive tree. This is what is being talked about when it says that that there was a mixed multitude that came out with Israel from Egypt. But when they got to the foot of Mount Sinai, those that were bloodline descendants and this mixed multitude were all looked at by Yahweh himself and said, "You are my people Israel." They were included and made a part. It is Am Israel, the people of Israel, who inherit the kingdom. The coming kingdom are for those that comprise Israel, that covenant body of people that you and I, who may not have been born with a bloodline that we can go back and trace, but we are adopted into by virtue of what Yeshua, our Messiah, has accomplished for us. So we have Shema Israel, third word again as a name, Yahweh. This is the name that references our Creator specifically by the characteristic of his mercy. In Exodus chapter 34, if you go back and read that, this is the scene where Moshe goes up onto Mount Sinai and he asks to see the face of Yahweh, who he's told, "You cannot look upon my face." He is rather hidden in a crevice in the rock, and Yahweh passes by and allows him to see or to hear his characteristics. Yahweh begins to cry aloud what has been called the 13 attributes of mercy. And as he passes by, he declares this same name twice. Yahweh, Yahweh. He is revealing to us the aspect of his mercy, of his loving kindness, of his forgiveness, of his compassion and his patience and his favor. These are specific things that you and I, because of where we've been and what we've gone through, we need these attributes of Yah. We need them to be expressed to us. And he makes a covenant declaration of who he is and how he chooses to relate with us. This is the first mentioning also that may reference him as him that cannot be seen. So we're looking at Yahweh, that unseeable creator who is far above all things. He's far beyond our understanding. He's far beyond our grasp and our ability to comprehend. But we know he's there. We reach out to him. We cry out to him. We've never seen him, but we just know down in the knowing of ourselves that he is real. So this name, this first mentioning of his name and this prayer, I believe personally that it references that part of him. Let's go a little further. The next word that we read is again a name or a title, and it is the word Eloheinu. Now it's translated for us our God or our Adonai, our Elohim. In the Hebrew it is Eloheinu. This is the name that references him by the characteristic of his judgment. And immediately when we hear judgment, we get this sad look on our face. Nobody wants to be judged. But he not only judges that which is wrong and evil, if you will, but also that which is righteous and good. When you read the book of Genesis chapter 1, every time that there is something that is pronounced good, it is pronounced good by he that is called Elohim. So that's the name of the Creator used solely in chapter 1 of the book of Genesis throughout the acts of creation. He is mercy, but he is also a balance of judgment. You cannot separate him into a preferred part. We may say, I only want mercy. No, you really want some judgment in your life, some determination for you. These things are not good. These things are not beneficial, so that you know where not to walk. You don't want someone who only overlooks you and your failings and in your problems and never holds you accountable. So he judges things, people, and nations to be good or bad. He judges between light and darkness, between clean and unclean. Even further, it's the name that references his power to create, but also to sustain. That is, that he is empowered to not only create something, but to keep it going, keep it moving, and sustain it in righteous standing. And he is our Eloheinu. He belongs to us. We belong to him. We are in covenant with him, and because we're in covenant with him, when it comes to even the acts of judgment, we can trust him, because we know that he's not looking out for our demise, but for our good. Where he judges us, where he chastens us, where he corrects us, it is taking place in order to provoke us to a righteous walk and to a better place than what we're currently standing on. Again, we have the repetition next of the name Yahweh. This is the second mentioning of this name in this particular prayer. And again, it is a reference to mercy, one who can be and has been seen this time. So the first time that we read Yahweh Eloheinu, we're talking perhaps about the one that is so far above, so unseeable that we can't reach him with our eyes. We can't see him. But the second mentioning is the second revelation of Yahweh, if you will, and that is Yeshua, who came to show us the Father. So I believe personally that this time this name is mentioned, secondly, to again reference Yeshua as Ben Elohim, the son of Elohim. He is the full reflection of Yahweh for us to know him. That's from Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 3. So we have so far here Shema, Israel, the covenant people, Yahweh, the name of the one who is far above, who shows us mercy, Eloheinu, our Elohim, who judges all things, Yahweh, who has revealed himself to us as Yeshua, our Messiah, and again has shown us mercy. And then we come to this last word in this verse, the word one, which in the Hebrew is a very significant word. It is the word echad. Now, echad is an interesting word. Sometimes in rabbinical circles it has been translated more like yachid. The difference being yachid is one, no more than one, nothing else but one. Where echad implies that there is a unity of that which is to become one. For example, man and woman were told to become echad, to become one. They are mankind, two different parts, then one separated from the other, but then commanded again to learn to function as echad, to team together, work together, labor together, live together, procreate together as echad. So this is not a trinity. Yahweh is, I know the church has taught this, and I understand that most of us were trained in this, but it's not a trinity, it's a unity. The one true and living El. If you would to look in Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 11, he says, I am Yahweh, and besides me there is no Savior. Chapter 44 and verse number 6. Thus said Yahweh, sovereign of Israel, and his Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts, or Yahweh Zevaot. I am the first and the last. Besides me, there is no Elohim. Now, who else said, I am the first and the last? That's Yeshua. He is also the Redeemer. So Yah in that verse, as I see it, he reveals himself as Yah, the sovereign of Israel, who rules over Israel from the heights above, and the Redeemer. He has revealed himself also as Yeshua, the Redeemer for us. He has come and brought us redemption. He is the mighty one of hosts, who is the first and who is the last. So let's think about this. We can use this prayer as a means of entering into a time of prayer. I have learned to engage the Father, crying out to him through the name of Yeshua, and announcing that I am coming by virtue of Yeshua and his shed blood. And I began to make my petitions and my requests known. But more often than not, almost every time, I will begin to preface my prayer remarks by this beautiful prayer that is recorded for us here, the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Baruch Hashem Malkuto, Le'olam, Vayed. When you say Malkuto, we're talking about the kingdom that is to come. This is not just any reign. This is the reign of our Creator. So let's take all of these words, and as we have elaborated on them, as we have expounded on them, let's put them together in a readable form as we've expanded. So the Shema may, in expanded version, say this: so hear, grasp, and comprehend with full intention of obeying. Israel, you covenant people, chosen by Yahweh, the redeemed and adopted people, full of colors, nations, and tribes, who stand in covenant with Yahweh, he who is mercy and loving kindness and truth and favor and compassion, who is unseen but can be known. You, O Yah, are our very Elohim, our personal creator and our judge, who will repay, but also has the power to sustain and empower his creation. Yahweh, the giver of mercy and forgiveness, that one who can be seen and has been seen, the revelation of the first one mentioned, Yeshua. He is a mystical and wondrous unity of one. You are Echad. You, Yeshua, the revelation of Yahweh our Elohim. You are first and you are last together. Now you can take this and you can elaborate on it according to your own heart or to what your own study would begin to reveal to you. But I encourage you, get out of Strong's Concordance. Go get you a lexicon. Look online. Find the BDB lexicon or Gesenius's Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. They're available online. And check those out and break down these words, and you do a study. Write down what you see. Examine it. And then learn to include this in your prayer. I know many of you are saying, I just don't know how to pray. I don't pray real well. Well, there's one way to learn to pray, and that's through prayer. Prayer is this simple, heartfelt, honest communication from the depth of your being to he that you know is out there. You just got to cry out. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Don't feel that he doesn't hear you. He will hear you if you cry out to him with your whole heart and you seek him with all your being. He will hear you. He will answer you. This ancient prayer that is included in Judaism can be included in your life as well. Let's learn to pray this together. Until next time, my friend, this is Barry with Reconnect. Thank you so much for joining me. Shalom.
are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.